Hello and welcome to the Pit Stop Report. Today, talking about the Chinese Grand Prix, the second race of the season. This is technically the first episode. Last week we did an episode, but it's more of a test shoot due to
it didn't exactly go to plan.
Certain technical issues, which are completely and utterly not our fault. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. We didn't cock up anything. No, he's lying. I swear.
I'm not lying.
But no, we're here to talk about the Chinese Grand Prix. Anyone who doesn't have any context, this is James Felton Hodson. He is the only man we could get to be our guest. Anyone who watched last week's test shoot will know that, but no one did. So here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
Back with you again. Have you gained any Formula One knowledge in the week?
No.
Oh, good.
But I did. Well, it depends. If you count the stuff that I learned last week, then we're well up.
Let's start with this. Can you name me 5 teams?
5 teams: McLaren, Aston Martin, Red Bull.
He's onto it.
Ferrari.
That's 4. Come on.
Can I not count?
You said 4.
And Haas or how?
Haas.
Yeah,
and that's the one I love to hear. We love a little bit of Haas. You're missing another 6.
Yeah, but we're not gonna. You said 5. So
I said 5. Yeah, I said 5.
Yeah. So moving on.
Let's move on. Let's start then with the Chinese Grand Prix. We had the sprint, of course. The sprint. We will dabble that a little bit, but we had George Russell on sprint pole as expected.
Yeah.
With the sprint being won by George Russell as expected. It was another similar situation to what we've seen in Melbourne, where we have the Ferraris at the start, bombing it past, getting into the lead. Kimi Antonelli had a really poor start. It dropped, I think, to about 7th or something from second, but he clawed it back. And in the end, Mercedes won with the podium. I think it was Charles Leclerc, then Lewis Hamilton. Antonelli got up to 5th, but actually got a 10-second penalty. Was it a 10? Yeah, it was a 10-second penalty due to a collision. But the sprint, I'll be honest, the sprint was very early in the morning. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning, I think. And I'm trying to recall my mind back to it.
Were you actually awake this time?
I did. My alarm went off, but I'd be lying if I didn't say. After the first 5 laps or so, I'm watching it and I'm starting to think, I'm getting a little sleepy. It's 3 a.m. and I want to go back to bed on a Saturday. And that's fair enough.
That is fair enough.
Yeah, obviously then though later on that Saturday we had qualifying, where some history was very much made. Kimi Antonelli, the Italian young 19-year-old. I want to say I'm correct in saying he's 19. But he became the youngest pole sitter in Formula One history, beating out his teammate George Russell with an excellent final lap.
I did see that.
George Russell did have a little bit of reliability issues with the Mercedes, which maybe compromised him.
Was it? I can't remember. Was it? Did he just get a pole in qualifying?
In qualifying, he didn't get it.
Because it was quite a big lead.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
In the Grand Prix. That's just the pace of the Mercedes. We've talked about that in a second or so. But it was again. Well, we'll talk about the start of the race now, because that was really. It wasn't the most exciting qualifying. I wouldn't say. It was very much Mercedes at the top, Ferrari a second. McLaren are trying to get in there a little bit. Red Bull was slow. They were 8th and 9th, but that's poor for Red Bull. They were behind Pierre Gasly's Alpine, which if you look at last season and you say an Alpine's ahead of a Red Bull, it's not.
So something's going wrong there.
No, But we've got more things to talk about with Red Bull later. We've got some bad stuff with Red Bull. They had a poor weekend, but for the race itself, it seems like I'm going to say this every week of this podcast whenever there's a race. Mercedes won 2. But by the end of turn 1, no Mercedes in the lead, as once again you had Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc right behind in 3rd and 4th. And I'm trying to now remember who was second. I'm terrible at remembering shit for context. I forget a lot. And then I also remember a lot of really random stuff.
Yeah, it's just
I'm trying to remember the order.
The stuff that you don't need to know is the stuff
you remember. Exactly. You asked me some random reference and I've got you.
Yeah.
But you asked me who came second and third and fourth even between the Ferraris.
In a race that was yesterday.
Yeah. Oh well. But so we had another situation where by the end of turn 1, Mercedes in the lead. However, unlike in the sprint and last week in Melbourne, Antonelli got back into the lead quite quickly, and it wasn't as topsy-turvy as we'd seen in previous races where it was for 5 laps or so constant switches. It was very much Antonelli's in the lead now. He's going to go fly, and fly he did.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he flew into a first race win for the young Italian, to make him the second youngest winner in Formula 1 history, only behind Max Verstappen.
Crazy.
Which, if that doesn't tell you that we're looking at a future world champion,
I bet there isn't anything that can.
Exactly.
Like, can you?
There's no. I mean, he's. I'm really hoping, because now we've had 3 races if you include the sprint in that, which George Russell's won 2, Kimi Antonelli's won 1, and the gap is quite close between them. It's going to be a really exciting season. I mean, they've won 2 in every. Oh, sorry, no, they didn't in the sprint, but they've won 2 in both Grand Prix and then won 5 in the sprint. It's very much going to be this season.
Yeah.
Hopefully a title fight between them. Hopefully one of them doesn't pull away.
Yeah.
And then it's just a case of 3rd and 4th for the Ferraris, which one gets that. And apart from that, no one's really there. Which let's talk about. Yeah. Let's talk about who didn't make it to the grid.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's talk about my team, McLaren
there was
Formula
a lot of
1.
people not.
There was 4 drivers that didn't make it to the grid. Gabriel Bortoleto, Audi having more technical, mechanical problems. They seem to struggle with the reliability a lot this season. And Alex Albon didn't make it to the grid either, with hydraulic issues at the Williams car. But there was no world champion on the grid. Well, so there was world champions on the grid. There was no 2025 world champion on the grid, and there was no 2025 constructors champion on the grid, because McLaren failed to get either cars to start the Chinese Grand Prix. Absolute howler. They had it was amazing. They had separate electronics problems in the 2 McLarens.
Wow.
And it's worse for Oscar Piastri, because it means that we've done 2 races this season, 2 Grand Prix, and he's yet to complete a lap. Which we're talking about a man who led the championship for the majority of the 2025 season, not having actually started a race yet in 2026. He got some points in the sprint, but he's 12th in the driver's standings at the moment, which is absolutely incredible. And the fact, I mean, I saw on Twitter, so many people, they had such a simple prediction for Oscar Piastri's Chinese Grand Prix weekend. He'll complete a lap in the race. The fact that people, anyone who bet on that, you have lost money, which who would have thought that could happen, but it's what happened. And McLaren are really off it this season. I mean, when they're probably the 3rd fastest car still, but they just haven't been able to actually race. They are far away from Ferrari and Mercedes. It's like the pecking order currently is Mercedes are right here, Ferrari are probably around here, McLaren are around here, and then it's just like everyone else is in that bracket there. Because I wouldn't even say it's like clearing away the 3rd fastest. I think when Red Bull do perform, they're probably on there. But let's talk about the team who are currently 4th in the constructors' standings. Let's talk about Haas F1, who are probably like, I think they're a team everyone, like, how could you not love a little bit of Haas?
Exactly, yeah.
People don't like Esteban Ocon. I love Esteban Ocon. Ollie Behrman's got some haters recently due to stuff. I love Ollie Behrman, and Ollie Behrman's the man to talk about, because he's single-handedly, he's the only point scorer for Haas this season, single-handedly, with 17 points, he has put them P4 in the constructor standings, which is incredible.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And then in the driver's standing, P5 ahead of Lando Norris, only behind the Ferraris and the Mercedes. This is very much, when you talk about Ollie Behrman, we're talking about a future Ferrari driver, and hopefully if Ferrari deliver him a car, he'll hopefully be able to contest for a championship, because he is a generational talent.
Exactly, yeah.
That's why else. Should we move on to... let's talk about Alpine, actually. Let's give Alpine a big shout out, because Alpine last season was a complete and utter disaster class.
Yeah.
They were 10th in the standings with 22 points, of which all were scored by Pierre Gasly. And they had 2 other drivers, Jack Doohan, who barely got a chance, and Franco Colapinto, who looked really poor in the races he did get. And people were wondering, does he keep his seat for this season? He has. And it utterly fills me with joy to say that Franco Colapinto scored a point in the Chinese Grand Prix, got P10, and what was amazing is that at one point he was running P2 due to a safety car and staying out, which he wasn't even like once they were off the restart, he wasn't slow or anything. He was obviously getting overtaken by the cars on newer tyres and the faster cars in general. But he really performed.
But like given the circumstances, he was doing pretty well.
He performed excellently throughout the race, and he and Gasly had an incredible battle with the two Haas cars on around lap 19, which I'm giving Battle of the Week. That was probably my favourite part of the whole race, because it was literally, you had a sandwich of all times of I think it was the two Haas's as the bread, and then the Alpines in the middle as the meat. And it was just really good to see that racing. What I will say of these 26 regulations is that I'm still on the fence about them, but what they do deliver at times is some really spectacular racing.
Yeah.
But there is still, I still hold my issues with that racing and how it's done as well. Because I still don't like the fact that it's very, very much like, as the driver said, it's very much like Mario Kart. You get a mushroom.
You've got your speed boost, and you've just overtaken people.
Yeah, and then you lose it because you have to recharge, and then they get a mushroom, and that's like my qualm with it. But it is delivering in the sense that we are getting some more exciting racing.
It's one of those things, like if we go back to that, it's like there's different elements of it. There's things that it like does boost. Like there are more like closer interactions where, the cars are coming much closer together. Whereas they start off quite far apart, but one of them has the boost that they can use and they can get up closer. But then it does kind of remove it, or at least it feels like it removes a kind of skill element as well, even because, previously to do something like that, it would require incredible amounts of skill. But you just kind of press the button now, which,
Yeah, I think I'm just looking at these three men right here, Nigel Mansell, Michael Schumacher and Ayrton Senna. If they were given these cars and they were told you've got to be able to boost, I mean, actually, who knows how they perform, we'll never know. But I think if they were in their prime in driving in this era with those sort of boosts, I think they could absolutely wipe the floor.
Yeah.
Because they are so naturally fast. And then you give them a little boost. But you know what, actually, you'd expect then Max Verstappen to be doing a lot better than he is, but Max Verstappen is having a terrible time with that RB22. We'll finish with Alpine first, because a big shout out to Pierre Gasly, who is he's delivering a really good season so far. He's scored points in both Grand Prix. He's looked really super, and both of them 9 points this season, ahead of Max Verstappen in the driver's standings. Alpine are very much on the up this year, which is good to see after a really tough 2025. But let's talk about Red Bull then, because both in the sprint and the Grand Prix, he lost so many positions for Verstappen off the start line, which was absolutely incredible to see. You just see everyone else goes off.
I did see the start, when he's kind of, everyone starts. And it almost looks like he's standing still.
Yeah,
everyone's just zooming past.
Boom, 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 off he starts to go, and then everyone else is already getting past him.
Yeah, they've already gone.
Well, I'm hearing that what it's sort of an issue with is apparently it's sort of poor rear end traction issue with the RB22 and possible issues with getting power to the engine to the Ford power unit this season, which may come with the fact that there were the new power unit in Ford. It's the first year of that. Maybe that's why he's struggling. But when Max Verstappen is struggling to get off the line, he's not going to be particularly happy boy. He's not enjoying these cars this year. He and Lando Norris are very much, they've been probably the most vocal about their disliking of the cars, which, I mean, all I'll say is that they wouldn't be complaining if they were George Russell.
No, exactly.
They're complaining because they're not at the top.
They're complaining because it's not working for them.
Exactly, which is ultimately...
it's fair enough.
It's kind of fair enough. Yeah. But it's also like, you had your turn.
Yeah.
You're not going to get it every season your way. This year's George Russell and Kimi Antonelli's year, with Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton hoping they crash into each other so they have a chance of winning. But even still for Verstappen, he DNF'd obviously in qualifying in Australia. That was a rear axle issue with them locking, causing them to crash. He managed to get P6 in that race though, but he didn't finish in China. After scoring no points in the sprint, finishing P9 in another race where the Red Bull just lacked some pace. Yeah. It wasn't an amazing race for Verstappen. He managed to get himself up to around P6. He was sort of in that fight for those positions, but unfortunately, he never saw the end. I think it was around lap 46 or 49 that all of a sudden the camera cuts to Verstappen, slow, no engine smoke or anything, which confused me at first. I was thinking, there's no way
is there anything wrong?
Exactly, but then we got the radio saying that Max is being told to retire the car.
Yeah.
So Max Verstappen did not finish the Chinese Grand Prix. We were hearing there was an ERS cooling issue with the RB22 there, and when you're Max Verstappen and you're having these issues with your car, it's only going to add fuel to the rumours that he might leave Formula One possibly soon.
Yeah.
He's won 4 world championships. Could you blame him if he left?
He doesn't really need to do any more, does he?
Exactly, and he seems to enjoy so much doing his endurance racing. He's been taken up last season. He's going to do a 24-hour race, I think, of the Nürburgring this season, which,
be fun.
If he's getting into that, we've also heard rumours that him and, Sebastian Vettel could, I think maybe it was Fernando Alonso as well, do Le Mans possibly. I mean, that's like a dream team for anyone, isn't it? That's, how many world championships is that between them? I think it's 10 world championships or so.
Ridiculous, yeah.
I mean, that is like
A lot.
if they wouldn't win Le Mans, that is a seriously shit car.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a rough year for Red Bull so far. They're actually in both the driver standards and the constructor, they're level with points on the constructor standards with their sister team VCarb, who the whole point of VCarb is meant to be sort of like a feeder team for Red Bull, where they bring up the drivers and they swap them over, which as we've seen with Isaac Hadjar, Yuki Tsunoda, Liam Lawson, people like that, Liam Lawson back in the VCarb now, and level on points in the Drivers' Championship with Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
And absolutely no discredit to VCarb, by the way, because that is very much because they're delivering a really solid midfield
really
car.
well, yeah.
They're very much in there for good position around P. They could push for P5 maybe, because I imagine Red Bull will get it sorted and be P4 by the end of the season. But VCarb, if they're in the fight for P5, that's a mega season for them. And with Liam Lawson and Arvid Lindblad, a rookie who's already delivering in Lindblad, and Lawson, a man who's got a couple seasons, got 1 full season under his belt and a few handful of races, but is seemingly starting to really mature as a driver, and he's really becoming a solid racer. I think it's really exciting times with V. I think it's a really exciting lineup. It's one of my favourites. Maybe it's the TikToks to see. I don't know if you've seen any of the TikToks, but they are.
I may have seen a few.
They are absolutely. They are easily the best at social media. VCarb. They always get their drivers to do all the trends. Last season, Isaac Hadjar and Liam Lawson may have tried to act like they didn't love it, but they absolutely loved doing all the TikToks.
Yeah.
But they're incredible vibes.
It's just something. It's just something which it just makes it more fun and enjoyable, doesn't it, as well?
Yeah.
Because if you don't want to have to be fully professional, locked in all the time.
So many drivers you fear, are they just a bit boring?
Yes,
Do they just seem a bit dry? Do they just sort of phase?
And that's the thing. That's the thing as well. You have to think obviously a big part of the being a driver is obviously the driving.
Yeah.
That's a key part. But also, how you're viewed is very important as well, and the kind of the personality that you show online, and all of the drivers that are fun and peppy, that you're just naturally you're going to get more attention and support than if you just don't try and engage and just are really boring. But yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. It's why I sometimes fear. I've seen, especially with teams like McLaren, Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. They seem to get on really well and they seem to be really fun, and then you don't ever see them doing that though ever online anymore. Maybe it's due to the fight last year for the championship, which maybe caused some frictions between them. I hope not, because they are such a great duo when they are close. But let's go on to Aston Martin, because Aston Martin, you'll remember, I'm sure.
Yes, I do remember from last week
that it's a rough season ahead for Aston Martin. This season is going to be really slow for them due to issues with the Honda Power Unit. It's the first year with them,
and which we talked about last week.
It seems to be very much a bad relationship between Honda and Aston Martin. We've heard that Aston Martin only went to the factory for the first time in around November last year to see how they were doing.
Shocking.
Absolutely shambolic, and now they have vibrations in the car which really damage the drivers and cause nerve damage.
And you think as well, obviously when you're asking someone like Honda to develop an engine, you really would think that you would spend more time, and especially earlier as well, because if you were looking at it like a few years before, then you have enough time to you can test it and be like, hold on, there's a big problem here.
Yeah.
There's way too many vibrations. We need to sort this out. And then you have time to sort it out before you've actually started the season, rather than going into the season going,
so.
oh shit, it's like killing our drivers. That's kind of a problem.
I think Fernando Alonso just had, I don't know what he's done to Honda, but Honda seemed to hate him, because Honda obviously delivered the power unit that was in that McLaren around 2016, that Fernando Alonso very much often was on the radio calling a GP2 engine. He absolutely despised it, and I don't think he'll be particularly enjoying this one. He had to retire from the Chinese Grand Prix. No issue with the car, which actually Lance Stroll had to retire on lap 19, not lap 19, lap 10, sorry, for issues with the Aston Martin. So there was their reliability issues over there, but Alonso retired due to simply discomfort, because we saw videos. So imagine you're on the steering wheel like this. He was constantly on straights and stuff. He was having to take his hands off, do that. That's how bad it is in that car. That's how terrible it is to drive. And when your driver is having to do that
is really
to
bad.
Protect his hands, you've got to question, should they be allowed to even race?
Also, you think like at that point, it's like there's got to be, like you said, there's got to be some question that's brought up. Is like it's not really safe to be doing that, is it? Because you think, like we've discussed before as well, like the amount of concentration and effort that is required to make all these split-second decisions means you just can't be in that situation where you're going, you're adding this extra load of, I'm actually in pain right now.
Yeah.
When is a good point for me to take my hands off the wheel?
Yeah.
Because you never want to have to do that, because
if you're in a corner and you're all of a sudden having to take your hands off the wheel, you're completely done.
That's it, isn't it? Yeah. And you think as well, like even on a straight, most of the time, obviously, you wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't recommend driving with no hands, but like
no, we are. If this goes to road users as well, anyone driving a car on the road, please keep your hands on the wheel.
Both hands on the wheel. 10
all
and
time,
2.
10 and 2. Yeah. Make sure stay below that speed limit. Don't ever even dare go above 31 if you're in a 30 zone.
Yeah. But yeah, like you have to make all these decisions, and even on like a straight, if you've taken your hands off the wheel, but someone could, it'd be stupid obviously, but they could just like dip in front of you, and you need to be able to stay out of the way. But because you're literally in pain, you've had to take your hands off the wheel, like it almost makes you feel like maybe they need to be told, you can't race until you fix this glaring issue, and maybe that will kind of prompt them to actually do something about it, rather than just, I assume that they are. Well, I hope so, at least. I hope they are doing stuff in the background.
They are definitely, they're working on it to try and get it fixed back at Aston Martin and Eccleston. But
I'd hope so.
Enstone, sorry, that's not Eccleston. I don't know where Eccleston is. I don't know where that came to mind, but they're at Enstone, Aston Martin. But yeah, I don't think, if a driver cannot do a race without having to protect his hands and having to retire due to discomfort, I don't think you should be allowed to race.
No,
because you have to ultimately
it's just a safety issue, isn't it?
Exactly. It's silly to allow them to damage their bodies for no points at the end of the day, because they're not going to be scoring any points anytime soon unless they have 10 drivers.
That's another good point as well. You think, like, if it was a case of like, you were having to push yourself really hard to get, to win, then, you might be damaging yourself still, but at least, it's almost worth it. But to the point where you put in all of this effort, are getting injured effectively, to be told, or not to be told, but to go, I actually just can't carry on.
Yeah, and for what? To finish 15th?
Yeah.
It's a waste of time.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Do you know what? I forgot to mention this earlier. When we were talking about Alpine, we were talking about Franco Colapinto. He's obviously an Argentinian driver. Argentinian fans are very passionate. I do want to quickly talk about it, because Esteban Ocon and Franco Colapinto had a little collision, had a little bit of contact at, I think, around lap 30. I can't remember.
Just a rough idea.
I think it was around lap 29 or something, I want to say. Yeah. They had some contact, which Ocon received a 10-second penalty for, which is very much iconic for getting 10-second penalties. But unfortunately, on his Instagram, he has received some absolutely vile comments from these fans of Franco Colapinto. And this is unfortunately history repeating itself for the 20th time where if something happens with another driver in Colapinto and his fans go into their comment sections and spew death threats and absolutely vile comments towards them.
Absolutely outrageous. Like, it's one of those things, like, you know, the people who are racing, they're adults.
Yeah.
You know, if they have an issue, they will sort it out.
On Ocon's post, he apologised to Franco, and Franco commented, no worries, thanks to the apology. And then you look below and it's just all these comments from these Franco Colapinto fans.
Yeah,
it's
just
saying
disgusting,
utterly
honestly.
disgusting stuff.
And it's one of those things as well. And if you are someone doing that, which if you are, absolutely don't. It's disgusting
get
behaviour.
a grip of yourself.
Yeah, honestly. But these people, they may think, you know, they think, oh, I'm protecting my favourite driver or whatever. But in reality, you're actually destroying their reputation. Because
it creates a negative
image. It makes it look like
them.
that's, when you're kind of like, it's almost like projecting what that person is thinking. Whereas in reality, as you can see, you know, they're both adults. If there was any issue, they would have professionally resolved it together. But it just results in extra stuff which just isn't necessary.
This sort of point applies to all sports in general.
Exactly, yeah. That's a very good point, yeah.
You see them get so emotional over people who don't know them.
Yeah, they have no relationship with them at all.
Vile comments to people, and you just think, get a life.
Yeah.
Get a grip of yourself, man. Focus on what's going on with you than saying these utterly disgusting comments to people who are far more successful than you.
Yeah, exactly. And it always goes back to that the kind of traditional saying, which is, if you don't have anything nice to say, just don't say anything.
As you say, all it does is create a bad image around Colapinto, and Franco Colapinto is an absolutely lovely guy. I've seen some really wholesome things of him throughout the Chinese Grand Prix, of him just outside in China having a lovely time. He seems like a wonderful person, and then you have all his fans saying these just spewing utter shit in these comment sections, and just keep it out of sport.
Yeah.
Just if that racism, any homophobia, any of that, just please
just leave.
Please keep it out.
Yeah.
Please just shut up.
Yeah.
Anyone who cares about where things like that enough to make an offensive comment,
it's just not. Please
just shut up.
Yeah.
Your opinion doesn't matter.
Yeah. But we could also go on to another point, like one thing you may not really realise is like how much travelling is involved in F1. You think, like,
I love how we've gone from talking about homophobia, racism, and death threats, and James has now said, let's talk about travel.
We've got to lighten the mood a little bit. Let's lighten the mood a little bit. But like all of the different places you get to go, and it's honestly it.
Oh, it is incredible.
There's lots of. Obviously you have to do the driving, of course, which is very, very difficult, and absolutely no way I could do anything like that.
I don't know, you get a bit of training, you do enough running and stuff, you do enough cycling where you could...
I might be able to press the brake pedal halfway down.
If you could cycle to Bournemouth, then I think we could get you trained up to be enough. Maybe we do that. Should we do that? We should try. Let's reach out to Silverstone and say, look, we know you've got like the 2008 McLaren car. Can we take that out for a spin?
Take it out for a spin. Just we'll put some indicators on it, make it road legal, and take
it down the M4.
Have it as the daily driver.
Imagine pulling up to an event. Imagine pulling up outside your house, and all of a sudden there's the McLaren that Lewis Hamilton won his world championship in.
I think you could probably question its practicality.
Oh, I mean, I tell you, the fuel economy on that must stink.
Yeah, especially in this economy, these fuel prices.
You fill it up with £100 of petrol, and all of a sudden you
can pop to the shops. And then
you haven't actually left the garage, and you have to refuel. You have to constantly have it attached to the pipe.
Yeah, you just have
to walk around or drive around. With that attached at all times.
You'd have to have like a fuel tanker, your own personal fuel tanker that's just connected to the car all the time.
Although you have to set a speed limiter, but at that point, what's the point of having the car? If you were driving a Formula 1 car at 30 miles an hour,
just walk. There's no point. Yeah. I do. That is one of the things I haven't really thought about is because obviously the fueling situation for Formula 1 is, you in the pit stops they get filled up, but I do actually wonder.
No, they don't.
What, do they not?
No, they used to.
They used to. Do they not get any more?
Well, the issue was with fueling mid-race is that we had a lot of, like, Jos Verstappen was the basic example. Where the car just sets on fire, which isn't ideal.
Is a problem.
So they stopped doing that. I couldn't tell you which year.
Do they just fill up at the start
then? They overfuel it massively at the start, and then you've just got to, so you'll like, whereas before they'd fuel it mid-race so that they could realistically
keep the weight down.
They'd be quicker because they're having less fuel in the car. They now they overfuel it so that anything like a safety car, anything that would slow them down in a race doesn't cause them to run out of fuel before the end. So any time an F1 car is out on track, it's very much fueled for beyond what the race.
Like an aircraft, you know. You have the fuel that you actually need to do the race.
You do too much fueling, not enough, because you'd rather have too much fuel than not make it.
Not enough. Yeah, exactly. And you think as well, like, there's. Yeah, no, I can't remember what I was going to say. My memory is
lost your train of thought.
Yeah, it's just not.
Well, you were going to say something before I said that they weren't fueled mid-race. Were you going to ask about how they do fueling?
Yeah, is it like? Well, I was going to say, do you know? If you know, I'll be very surprised. But do you know how much fuel do they actually take on board with them?
Well, in terms of how much do they put in the
car?
Yeah, it depends on ultimately.
It depends on the race.
It depends on the race. You know, it depends how long the race takes. Usually, say it's like an hour and a half a race. I couldn't tell you how many liters they put in, but let's say over like a 66 lap race, they'd probably put in fuel for maybe 70. I want to probably say.
Just so you have a bit of extra spare.
Yeah, so that if any safety car comes out at any point that it's going to slow them down and use fuel, they don't run the risk then of not making it to the end.
Running out, like, you know, you're pulling up to the finish line, you just run out and stop just before the finish line.
It can happen. It has happened before. Where you see teams have to tell their drivers they've got to try and save fuel.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, on F1 video games, I don't know if any other people have had the same experience, but the amount of times when I've done races and I've been told I have to slow down now because I've burned through all my fuel. Maybe it doesn't help the fact that I did try. I'd reduce how much fuel was put in the car so that I'd be quicker, and then I'd run out of fuel before the end.
But you think how disheartening it would be as a driver. You know, you're trying really hard. You've managed to like build up some gap between the people behind you, and you're told,
but
you know your job is driving fast. Well, you can't do that because we have to save fuel. That must be so like incredibly disheartening to hear that.
Cheers, lads.
Yeah,
I'm so glad. I'm so glad I've done these 55 laps already. Yeah, and I'm so glad I've built this 18-second gap, and I'm so glad that you're telling me to slow down.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, and it's not even something that you can control.
No,
like, you know, as a driver, you're not deciding how much fuel gets put in the car, i.e., you know, that's by some person who's good at maths, which I'm clearly not not good at. But yes, you think like there's nothing I could have done about it. You just have to deal with it. And
before we finish with the Chinese Grand Prix, because there is a big thing we have to talk about afterwards, I just want to quickly go through my personal winners of the week. Winner of the week has to be Kimi Antonelli, youngest pole in history, second youngest winner.
Definitely deserved.
I think that's ultimately settled and done. Lewis Hamilton, though, he is probably he's taken my second place, first podium with Ferrari. Finally, he got the sprint win last year in China, but. That's obviously not a Grand Prix. It's a separate thing. Yeah. You don't get to go nicely stand on the podium, but he did here, getting that third. Yeah. Probably one of my favourite podiums I've seen in a long time, because you have George Russell, Kimi Antonelli, Lewis Hamilton, and Peter Bonington. Which Peter Bonington is Lewis Hamilton's former race engineer at Mercedes, who is now Kimi Antonelli's race engineer. So it was that beautiful thing where you have Hamilton's former teammate, the man who replaced him, and his race engineer standing with him on the podium for the first time when he's in red. Absolutely beautiful to see.
I definitely do feel like there is definitely still a bond with him and Mercedes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think I mean you couldn't not. I mean, like Toto Wolff was saying after the race, he had three Mercedes drivers up there on the podium.
Yeah.
When he's done what he's done for Mercedes, and Mercedes have done for him what they've done for him. How could you ever forget those years? It was really, really beautiful to see. And Lewis Hamilton seems to have a swagger back about him.
Yeah.
You know, last season, he couldn't qualify. Yeah. He was really slow in some races. But this season, he looks like he's back, which is brilliant to see because no one wants to see Lewis Hamilton dropping off.
Absolutely, yeah.
Other winners, Ollie Behrman, we talked about him earlier.
We did, yeah.
What a brilliant weekend for him. P5 in the race. I believe that's his second highest finish in Formula One. He got P4 in Mexico last year. But another brilliant race for him. He is such a good talent, as we were saying. And once Hamilton does retire, because Hamilton will retire one day, if Ollie Behrman doesn't get that seat at Ferrari, then they are seriously going to miss out on a superstar. And I've got two more, I'd say. Liam Lawson.
Yeah.
Liam Lawson, again, we talked about Liam Lawson earlier. Really maturing as a driver, really solid weekend for him. He got, what was it, P7, I want to say, in the race. It was either P6 or P7. Really solid performance for Lawson as he's level on points with Max Verstappen, which when he got replaced after the Chinese Grand Prix last year, he got dropped from Red Bull and put back into the V-Carb. To come back there in the V-Carb and leave it level with Max Verstappen on points, that must be a pretty good feeling for Lawson, who is going to hopefully enjoy a strong season.
I would also say as well, like, I do think, like, there's definitely, I'm just actually like, my memory is so bad.
He's having a bad one.
It's not good.
Last winner though, the only team winner I'm giving, because Mercedes and Ferrari, they have good races, but that's not really. That's what we expected.
Yeah, we expect.
Alpine, I'm giving credit because they delivered double points for the first time in so long due to Nolan, but then Pierre Gasly getting points from them last season. And I'm really hopeful for a solid year for Alpine, who have, in the first two races, got 10 points, I believe. And I think that took them about 9 races to do last year. Such a great improvement for them. And Flavio Briatore, of all people, was happy. Which, anyone who doesn't know Flavio Briatore, he is a man who will fire anyone, but he is, for all of the controversial stuff he is, and I still don't believe he should be in Formula One because of Crashgate. I think it's wrong that he ever got to be in the sport again. But he's undeniably signed and created some utter masterpieces. He was the man who got Fernando Alonso to Renault for those years where he won the championship. He got Michael Schumacher in that Benetton to win his first championship. Is Flavio Briatore a good person? Probably not. Is he undeniably a Formula One legend? Yeah, and it was weird to see him happy. He's not meant to be happy. He's meant to be utterly miserable all the time and just stone-hearted.
Yeah.
Should we talk about losers then now?
Yeah, absolutely.
We've given those credits to the winners. I think losers-wise, McLaren's the only place to start.
It's definitely the place to start.
They're yet to have Piastri race in a Grand Prix.
Yeah,
I appreciate the first one was a crash from him, but even then, I think there was like some issues with the car that we've seen other drivers have issues with.
Yeah.
That slightly caused it. But if you're not having a car start a race, McLaren have had some they've had in recent times, they've had double did not finish in the Austin sprint. They had a double disqualification in Vegas last year. A double did not start now here in China. Is a double did not qualify on the cards next in Japan.
Yeah.
It's rough at the times for McLaren.
Definitely, yeah.
The double world champs of the constructors are not going to be up there this season. They are very much going to be. Who knows? Are they going to be fighting for third with Haas? Now there's a fight I want to see.
Yeah.
I want to see Esteban Ocon and Lando Norris going at it in a race because I don't know why, but I feel like that could be a fun battle.
Yeah.
But Piastri, we'll give a special mention to Piastri for loser of the week because unfortunately, not starting the first 2 races of the season is quite literally the worst way to start.
Yeah.
Like he got 3 points in the sprint, which means he's not had an utter shit show.
Yeah.
But he hasn't started a Grand Prix.
I will make it clear, it's not necessarily like his fault.
No, I mean it's not. It's entirely
it's not
not his fault that he didn't
he's
qualify.
a loser, but it's the fact that
he's the loser of this week.
Exactly, yeah.
Because he has failed to start another race, and I just hope for him that things change.
Hope for the best.
I mean, it was good to see papaya rules in action, though. You know, Lando Norris can't even get out onto the grid to start the pre-laps before the formation lap. He had the electronic issue well before then. But it was really nice to see the McLaren then decided, let's make sure Oscar doesn't get to start the race as well, in keeping with the papaya rules of equality, which is absolutely great to see and, you know, totally uncontroversial. Everyone agrees that papaya rules is a good idea, right? Anyway, Aston Martin, loser of the week.
Definitely.
You can't if your driver's retiring due to discomfort, you're a loser.
Yeah, definitely.
And Aston Martin are going to be losers this year.
Definitely.
And unless they have a right miracle, they're going to stay there for possibly years to come.
Well, I mean, the first step is just they've got to just fix the engine, haven't they?
Yeah.
They've got to stop it injuring their drivers, and then you can kind of see how it's going to pan out from there. Because you never know. It could all be just due to the engine, right?
It could well. I mean,
they could fix
maybe
it.
Adrian Newey has designed a masterclass, and it's just an engine issue.
Yeah.
But
it might
until
not be as well.
I mean, until the engine's fixed,
we won't know, will we? Yeah, we'll never know.
Max Verstappen, I think he has to be another loser of the week.
Yeah.
Not finishing the race, another poor start. Which again, you know, these are issues out of his control.
Yeah,
so you
exactly.
could argue that Red Bull are the losers.
Yeah.
Which I'd say is a fair statement.
Yeah.
But, sorry, Red Bull fans, but yeah, Max Verstappen to not finish the race, be level on points with the guy who lost his seat as your teammate after 2 races last year, after the first 2 races. It's very
disheartening. It's disheartening.
And he's been very much complaining about the cars this
very
year.
Vocally
He's
as well.
very vocal the fact that he doesn't like it. And I think he said it was just really boring to have George and Kimi leading every race. So my only issue with that is, do you not remember 2023?
Yeah.
You won 19 races in a row, I think, or something like that.
It's one of those things. It's just
he won 19 races throughout the season. He won like 10 in a row or something, which in the nicest way possible, when you've had that sort of level of domination, you don't get to be annoyed that someone else is getting a turn finally.
Yeah. No, it's a very good point. And
that's a rough start to the season for Verstappen, but
knowing him, I'm sure.
I think the biggest loser of the week, the biggest losers of the week, we talked about this again earlier, it's Franco Colapinto's fans. They are the biggest losers because they're going after a driver for a small collision and sending them death threats and not being the first time. You are losers, and that's very. The others are like losers just this week because they've got a bit.
They've
unlucky,
lost out
maybe.
because
Franco Colapinto fans.
They are losers.
This is. It feels like you're clumping them all together.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Yeah, you can't generalise it, but
it's obviously not all of them. But for any of the Franco Colapinto fans who do send the comments that a lot of them do send, you're just a loser in general.
And they're ruining the reputation for everyone else, aren't they? It's just not on.
No, absolutely. The main, I think even like you could argue this was a bigger story than the race because we've obviously seen the conflict in the Middle East that has expanded from a few nations into practically every nation in the Middle East. This has started to take an effect on sporting events across motorsport, especially. We had the Dakar race for Qatar cancelled. That's an iconic race that didn't happen. MotoGP's had to cancel events in, I think it was it Qatar and Bahrain maybe? I can't remember exactly. But in Formula One, we had the Bahrain and Saudi Arabian Grand Prix said that they will not take place in April, which leaves them with, April officially won't have a race then in Formula One. Alternatives were discussed, the FIA said in their statement. But that's a massive shame, isn't it?
Yeah.
No racing in April with 2 Grand Prix that me personally I love. I love Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. I think they're really good races always. And we've lost them on the grid. And we don't want to get political.
No,
because that's not our place. I couldn't possibly fully understand the extent of everything going on.
Not, yeah.
But it's such a shame to see races cancelled due to conflict. And
it impacts so many things, doesn't it?
Exactly.
So many things, and so many people's lives as well.
Yeah, and it's 2 races that drivers can't win anymore. It's 2 races that points are lost. It's 2 races that viewership is lost.
Yeah.
It's a month of boredom for F1 fans unless something crazy happens. And yeah, it's just it's not enjoyable.
No.
But you know what was crucial in this statement for me, what was absolutely crucial, was never did the FIA said cancelled. They said not taking place in April, which leaves the door open
for it to happen some other
later
time.
in the year. There are weeks in which there are no races to give the drivers a break, which they deserve a break at times.
But if they have a month
we
off,
could have a chance of them being slotted into some gaps throughout the season, and we could possibly still get those races.
Yeah, so there is hope.
Which I ultimately would be very happy to see, because we want to have all the races that are on the. I mean, it's definitely a lot of races, but I'd rather, as long as it's good racing, I'd always say let's do one every week.
Also, it makes it, the less opportunities you have, the harder it is for there to be, close competition.
Oh yeah.
So, it's always better to have more.
We have to hope then, by the end of the season, that the conflict dies down. But unfortunately, let's say the conflict doesn't die down, which hopefully it does for the people in all the countries affected.
Absolutely.
But if it doesn't, and we get to the end of the season where we have Qatar and Abu Dhabi, are we at risk of losing them too as well? And Abu Dhabi is the final race of the year. That can be a championship deciding race. Qatar is the race before that. That can also decide the championship. Those are two really important races on the calendar. If we're still in a conflict and it's still unsafe to go there, how does that affect the champion? I mean, what if...
And you think as well, because it wouldn't necessarily be something which would happen in advance. So it could be, the penultimate race happens. I think penultimate means the one before the end. Yeah. So the one before the end, that happens, and then it's as if it's going to carry on, and then it gets cancelled, which means that now the previous standings from the previous race are now the final results.
I'll tell you, if let's say the conflict does still continue towards the back end of the season, Las Vegas will be licking their lips, thinking about the idea of being the final race of the season.
Yeah.
Because imagine the pull that you get. I mean, Vegas brings in all the celebs anyway. Imagine if it's a title decider. But I mean, it's hope. It's very much. We hope that's not the case.
We want all the races.
We want all the races to happen, but most importantly, we want the people of the countries affected with this conflict to be safe. And there's so many political things in the world that you could talk about right now that are so wrong. Luckily this is a Formula One podcast, so
we don't need to dive.
We don't have to dive into that. But wow, it's utterly scary times. We wish all the people affected
the best
in the Middle East safety.
Absolutely, yeah.
Ultimately, that's what matters most of all. Above everything is your safety.
Absolutely, yeah.
Should we finish with a preview of Japan then?
Absolutely,
End on a positive note. Well,
absolutely, yeah.
Positive for some.
Yeah.
Do you reckon we're going to have another Ferrari Mercedes weekend?
I think that is probably going to be the case.
Do you reckon it'll just be there like every weekend?
I think it depends. Like we've talked about before. Like if something happens during the race, then it could change. But if everything stays normal, nobody isn't able to partake, then it's probably going to be something along those lines at least. With Ferrari having a good start and then
Mercedes come back and then
clawing it back.
The first top four is just the same as always, and I will, if it is that the entire season, then I'll give Max Verstappen credit and say you were right. It is boring, because that would ultimately be boring. No one wants to see the same four drivers in the top four every week. Yeah. Hopefully McLaren can get themselves sorted, mainly for my sake.
Start a race.
As a fan, this is just a personal message to Zach Brown and Andrea Stella. This is George from the McLaren fan hotline. Please fix the fucking car. Please. Yeah. I want Oscar Piastri to race. The poor man deserves to race. Yeah. Lando Norris, the drivers' world champion, deserves to race. Please fix the car. Yeah. Let's try and get in the fight. That's just my little personal message. That's the only bias I'm going to try and show throughout, is that I want us to race. Yeah. Apart from that.
And we hope that it is a bit more varied and there are lots of competition is what we want.
Absolutely.
That's what makes for good racing, isn't it?
As much as I can appreciate the overtaking of Ferrari and Mercedes at the start of a race, but if it happens every week, it will just start to get...
And that's the thing.
It won't be exciting anymore because you think, okay, another race.
We know what's going to happen.
We know how this is going to start, but by lap 5, the Mercedes will be ahead again, and then they'll push on because the Ferrari don't have the tyre deck to hold on. And then we end up the same situation when Mercedes won too.
So hopefully, some other teams can kind of, just be amazing and magic something up.
Or if not, let's at least have some carnage between.
Yes,
let's at least have some crashes at turn 1.
Yeah.
Let's have Lewis Hamilton try and go from 6th on qualifying, try and dive it down in the inside of Antonelli, and Antonelli just sticks a rear tyre out, and all of a sudden crashes. A little accident.
And that's what I was talking about as well. Like,
I mean, we have to be clear. We don't hope that people crash.
No.
But we want some.
It would be interesting. You want some action.
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
To make it interesting.
Because that's the whole point of these regulations. Is they want to make Formula One more exciting than it was in the last regulation set, where it started to get a little bit like, you've got pole, you'll probably win.
And this is the thing. Like, this is always what happens, right? You make rules changes, and it starts off being where some teams seem to have a much bigger advantage than other teams, and then it gradually all levels out until it's just always the same.
Like last season, it was very much, you had McLaren as easily the best car, but then the rest of the pack weren't a million miles apart from each other, apart from Alpine, who were very much at the bottom. Yeah. But that's what happens in the regulation set. At the end of the day, you have at the start, you have the teams who get it right and the teams who get it really wrong.
Yeah.
And throughout the years in that regulation, teams understand it better. Teams
come back up,
get back on top of things, and we get by the end of the regulation to a far closer grid, which is why then we have to switch again.
Exactly. Yeah.
If we get to a situation where every team's as good as each other, we become like Formula 2, of course, which Formula 2 does have its credits for therefore being very much based on your talent as a driver as to who wins. But
when it's...
We could say that we want it to be all decided by how quick a driver is, but we don't.
No.
I personally at least don't.
Like, it's one of those things, like, it may be like, technically, if you're looking at it from a perspective of who's the best driver, like, it makes sense. You want to have all the same cars, so everyone has the same same chances. But you have to also take into account
that's not a word.
Eating my words there, but take into account the fact that there is also a need for the entertainment part of it, because that's how a lot of money is made to support it.
Yeah.
So if you don't have good racing, if you don't have like competition between everyone, and it's not just there's a little bit, but it's all mostly the same, then people aren't gonna watch it.
No.
And it needs to be interesting.
And we want innovation. We want to the Macarena wing that Ferrari have, which we haven't talked about the Macarena wing. Let's actually, because that completely skipped my mind.
That's fine.
The Macarena wing. I don't know if you have seen it, but let's use these cars here as an example. Let's say you have this McLaren here. This is its rear wing. Let's pretend it's a Ferrari from this year, rather than the DRS going like that, which you can't see on camera, but basically it goes like that. It goes fully round, down. Does a flip.
Oh yes, no, I have seen that.
And it's really cool. It's really wacky and it's really cool. And what it does, it helps reduce drag and it increases... I'm trying to think if I've got that the right way around. It reduces drag and increases the downforce for the car.
I think if there's more downforce, there's more drag. But it's always because the idea of the DRS obviously is because in the corners you need that extra grip.
Well, don't call it DRS. It's not DRS.
Okay,
anymore.
no, but previously the DRS was for straight line speed. Yeah. Right. So
it was to get more overtakes in those.
And when you do that, you lose some traction on the ground, but it's fine because you're going in a straight line. Yeah. So this is just...
Jack Doohan in Japan last year, into turn 1, he had his DRS open, and that caused him to have a massive crash. Yeah. That's why you can't have DRS open in a corner, because you're going to crash.
Yeah. But it's one of those things, like if you can reduce it even more, then it's going to result in a better straight line speed.
Yeah, but that's the point that I want to make that with F1, is that those sort of wacky innovations are what really make the sport great. I mean, if we had in 2020
yeah.
the DAS system on the Mercedes, where they would push the steering wheel in and it would help with the cornering speed. And unfortunately, it got banned by the FIA because it gave them too much of an advantage. But it was a brilliant bit of innovation.
Yeah, I think this is one of the things. A lot of the time in like sport in general, not just in motorsport, but when stuff gets innovated, rather than them going, right, this is something which now everyone can do. A lot of the time, it's just banned.
Yeah.
Which, like, I think there are arguments for that. For example, you know, if you've had a team which, you know, they've developed it a bunch to start with, then they do have a head start. But ultimately, more innovation leads to better racing. So, you know, there's a kind of balance.
We had this exact conversation last week.
Yeah.
We were talking about innovation last week in that little test shoot. Ultimately, in the end, I find it funny how we've ended up in the same conversation.
Well, it's because it's important for racing.
It's absolutely important.
Yeah.
You know, when you had Tyrrell with their 6-wheel car, utterly wacky.
Yeah.
But that's what we love.
Yeah. And with I don't completely know, but is that the wing that like, or whatever, the Macarena thing, it like completely spins around?
Yeah. So let's like. They have the HP sponsor on the opposite side of the wing, and when they open that Macarena wing, that's what's on top.
Yes, yeah. So I've seen that, and I've also seen the aero kind of analysis of it to see. But what's really interesting is when it's obviously you have to actually flip it, and it takes time to do that.
That's why they ran it in practice. They didn't run it anywhere else at the weekend, because the issue is there's a reliability issue, because you're trying to do a lot more opening than you do on the normal mode and straight line mode. Yeah. So that's why they can't unfortunately run it yet, which hopefully they can get sorted, because I think I want to see it in a race ultimately. I want to see how it performs against the Mercedes in Grand Prix action.
Yeah, and it may tip the scales a little bit more in their favour. But and I was saying also with the aero, like when it's spinning, right? Like you're saying, obviously there's an incredible amount of force, but also when it's part way through, I believe it, or from what I saw, I think it increases the drag quite a lot during the transition process. So it adds another element of, you know, obviously, if you only need it for a very short period of time, there may be chances where it's not worth it to do it, because from the hit that you'll get from opening it or like moving it or whatever, it's gonna not be enough to justify the benefit that you'd get from it.
Which is why I imagine they brought it to China, because China has that very long back straight, and that's a really good place with the straight line mode. Now it's still weird to say that rather than DRS. We got so used to that, but that's a really good place to test out how it works, because you have so much time down that straight to do that. But if you have another smaller circuit, let's say like Monaco's incredibly tight circuit, which there's only one bit of DRS. And it's not a particularly long bit, you wouldn't bring it there, because you're not going to gain anything from it. You're not going to be able to open it and get the advantages of it before you reach turn 1.
Before you have to close it,
But it's genius bit of innovation if it does work from Ferrari.
And we just have to hope
that we'd be in a situation where Ferrari are getting something right.
And we just have to hope that like stuff like this isn't gonna, you know, when they start polishing it and it becomes, you know, they can use it more often and it's more robust. We just have to hope that the FIA don't then go, right, it's time to ban it now.
Yeah.
It's like, hopefully they can kind of...
Which I imagine, if it does really work, then
they will do
ultimately
it, unfortunately,
all the teams are going to complain about it and say that they can't do this because of some thingy. And unfortunately we'll probably get banned, but hopefully not. But we have massively sidetracked here, but we were talking about our predictions for Japan. And we are now
a little bit distracted.
We got very much sidetracked by a lot of stuff. So should we finish with our little preview of Japan? So will Piastri finally start a race?
I mean, I hope so. I think we've all got a hope.
Not the curse.
We've got a hope. It'd be nice to see.
If he doesn't start a race now, by the way, I hope you know that we hold no power over Oscar Piastri or McLaren Formula One, and it's not our fault.
It's not our fault, no.
I mean, luckily, you know, let's say he doesn't make it. Luckily, I don't think anyone's going to be able to find us.
No. So because we just live here. So we
live here, and you have no idea where this is as well, because it's just a black background.
Yeah.
Like have a guess. Yeah. You won't guess.
No.
I love how we're getting sidetracked so
Yeah, I
easily.
mean, back on topic.
Ollie Behrman, can he keep his good form up?
I mean, I don't know. Again, like no. Well, I can't predict the future.
No, no, I get what you mean.
For the.
I thought you were going to say I don't know who he is.
No,
I was going to say we've talked about him enough.
No. Like, I think in terms of like the content itself, I think it'd be great. Competition is always good.
Yeah, and I think Ollie Behrman could solidify himself this season as like a top 10 driver on the grid, because I think he ultimately has the talent to be in that top 10. And if Haas keep the car, which they've so far seemingly delivered a decent little car for him, that can keep up throughout the season. I want to see Ollie Behrman constantly in the top 10. I want to see Ollie Behrman on the podium by the end of the season, which I think is a real possibility. Haas have never had a podium in Formula One, and they joined in 2016, 10 years now on the grid.
A long time,
not one podium, and Ollie Behrman is undeniably a driver who can get them there, and I really hope he does.
This could be the year.
Because this was also bringing in my bias again, because Ollie Behrman is like my favourite driver, first or second favourite I'd say, and Haas are my second favourite team. So I do have a little bias that I want them to do well.
But also, again, it would be great for the like actual racing.
Yeah.
Competition is always good.
Yeah, and Haas have always they've had their really bad years. So it'd be nice to see a year for Haas where
good year.
Right. I mean, Io, the team principal, I cannot remember his last name. That's why I only called him Io, because I don't want to pronounce his last name wrong. But he has turned Haas around so much. Just Gunther Steiner, as much as he's a legend, and I love Gunther Steiner. Yeah. I went to a show last year and it was absolutely incredible. It was really good to see. But unfortunately, it got to the point where he wasn't able to push Haas forward anymore. Io came in and he's done that. He's pushed them to a new level where we want to see them.
Absolutely.
In their first years, Haas, I think it was 2017 or 2018, the Haas were P5 or P6 in the constructors' standings, delivered a really good season, and they haven't been there since. And hopefully,
maybe this is the year.
Hopefully this year is a chance.
There's a difference, yeah.
But will Red Bull get their car sorted then? To just final little point.
Again, like, we don't know, but I think
how every answer James has given so far has been. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it would be
Beefy
nice.
Bert over here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It'd be nice. I think it's definitely something which could be sorted, because they just need to sort out the starts. That's the main issue, right?
Yeah, if they can get Verstappen off the line,
yes,
that might be a
instead
positive.
of still at it after everyone's gone past.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely something which, or at least, I mean, you'd hope that they've already started doing stuff for that. And they're trying loads of stuff to try and fix it.
I think
it's a
Lauren
major
Meckie
issue.
can get them beyond this. I think Lauren Meckie is a really good team principal. He was really good at VCARB for his time there, and just came in a Red Bull and was such an important reason for Verstappen's late charge for the title last year. So I think there's a real good chance that I trust him more than I trust other people to get Red Bull through this. And I think Verstappen probably trusts him more than other people to get him through this. Isaac Hadjar still got some points. Red Bull, they had a bad weekend, but it wasn't like they left with nothing. Hadjar got 8th in the second race from that second sea of Red Bull getting points, something that many drivers have struggled with in recent years. It's Isaac Hadjar, let's just hope that he doesn't fall off. But yeah, I think overall, my predictions for Japan, we'll do a little predictions. Last week we did predictions for China. I can't remember them, but I was probably pretty much on the money actually, because I probably predicted George Russell first, Kimi Antonelli second, which ultimately didn't happen. I probably predicted Lewis Hamilton third, which did happen. But my reckon for Japan, which is in a couple of weeks' time, we have a little break this weekend, but I think it will be George Russell top. I think it'll be Kimi Antonelli second, and I think it'll be Charles Leclerc third. And that's both going to hopefully be exciting race in between them, and it's also going to be really dull to predict that every week. As Mercedes are absolutely like flying away with the constructors, and Ferrari, I think so. I think Ferrari have 67 points, Mercedes have 98, McLaren third with 18.
That's quite a big gap.
McLaren are third, and they didn't start in China.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point.
That's how much of a domination, firstly from Ferrari and Mercedes, and also how close you could always say it is between the rest.
Yeah.
Do you have any predictions for Japan?
I think it's, as much as I'd like there to, I want to be wrong. We'll say that.
Make some wild predictions that are undeniably not going to happen, so that we can have hope in you being right.
Yeah, I'm not sure honestly, but
Cadillac to win.
I mean, you are right. That would be
a big shock. We haven't really talked much about Cadillac,
No, we
but
haven't today,
they it was just another weekend for them,
Yeah.
where they were towards the bottom in the race. About Bottas got, I think, about P12 or P13. Not so much because of the pace of the car, but more because everyone
else
not finishing behind him.
Yeah,
But yeah, Cadillac.
but they're just learning.
They're learning. Yeah, that's a really good way to put
They're
it.
gaining experience.
They're learning, and they will progress.
And you can't expect them to kind of, just rock up and be like, we're going to just kill everyone straight away, smash everyone up, and we're just going to...
So just to lock in James's prediction, he is predicting Valtteri Bottas to win, Sergio Perez second,
Yeah, sure.
and third you're predicting... Is that Dorian Pan? She's not even in F1 Academy anymore. I couldn't tell you which series she moved to. No, she's not in Formula One. She may be in the future though. That'd be really good to see. Hopefully we will eventually get a female driver on the grid again.
Absolutely.
F1 Academy being a big reason for that.
Being a big driver, yeah.
But so the third, actually, you're going to go with Lance Stroll.
Sure.
He said Lance Stroll, I believe.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's James's predictions locked in. He's put a Cadillac in first and second, and
Bit of an odd
Stroll
choice,
in the
isn't
Aston Martin in third.
Bit weird.
It's slightly questionable.
Yeah.
I have to question your wheel knowledge here, James.
Yeah.
I think that's probably where we're going to.
That's probably all we've got time for today.
We've made it to the end. We've waffled our way through it somehow once again.
Do you think we've cut now? Should we say that?
I think we've frauded our. That's it. We'll end with a little saying of we frauded our way through this, James.
Yeah.
Thank you for being my guest again.
No worries. I'm glad to be here.
I'm sure you are.
Oh yeah.
And that is the. I don't know why the lights are flashing, but that is
the end.
That's the end of the episode. Tune in next week, hopefully. Bye.
Bye.